Welcome to CHERP Conversations, a podcast series designed by BVSC Research to highlight the voices and experiences of our community researchers from across Birmingham and Solihull.
And now let's get on with the episode.
Can you tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, and what brought you to this conversation about research?
My background is in psychotherapy, and I've worked in psychotherapy for some 20 odd years. And I've worked with a variety of clients who've got particular issues from trauma to addictions. And so I'm used to talking to a lot of people all the time. And so that's my kind of background in terms of work. And I think that's why, coming to your other question about how I got into this, was I was becoming more, during the COVID period, more interested in what was happening in the community and how it was being kind of silenced and shut down, and that was a time that I began to notice things happening in my community because I had to be at home looking through the spare bedroom window at what was going on, whereas normally I'd be at work and not notice. And I went to a community residents meeting. I was introduced by Alison and Debbie to consider becoming a community researcher, and there was a couple of us going, oh, this is interesting, okay. And we took it from there, and we did the training, and there were lots of people from all aspects of our community that attended, and that's how I got started.
So from there, when you first started, did you think of yourself as a researcher? What were your expectations of research when you first started?
No, I didn't, but I should have. On the one hand, before I started this, if somebody said, are you a researcher, I would think, well, academia, and you've gone and done a master's and you're researching in a particular way. And then I would say, well, no, that's not me. But actually, in my day-to-day work, I'm researching clients all the time.
Of course.
And as part of my professional development, I'm having to do research and retraining and, CPDs, etc. So on the one hand, or both hands, I am not academically a researcher, but I am a researcher in terms of the experience, working with people and their experience of living and how that is for them. And that's important.
Do you think that misconception, if it is a misconception about research and being a researcher, still exists? Is it still a barrier potentially for some people to get involved, do you think?
Oh yeah, yes, and there's a bit of a hierarchy because there's a sense of if you're a researcher, do you mean you went to the university and you've got all of this? And so when you introduce yourself, you feel there are times when you kind of have to pinch yourself and say, well, yes, I am a community researcher and I know what that means, but other people's perceptions of you are slightly different. And you could perhaps feel less than at times. And it's trying to get that equity that's sometimes important, that what you're doing with them is just as valid as an academic. Yeah.
Is there anything that you think we could be doing as a community of researchers to try to overcome that misconception again, that sort of othering, that hierarchy? What could we do to make sure that isn't in place? Do you think? Big question.
Solve all the problems. Come on.
Well, I think it's perhaps there needs to be a CPD program that I don't want to use the word elevates, but kind of allows a community researcher for them to develop their skills in community research and maybe reach some level of academia if that's what they want. So kind of, I guess, like in any profession, you start at a particular place and there are places where you progress to, and having a program of progression that says you are point 1, you're now point 5 because you've done how many things, you've done how many researches, you've written a paper, you've supported us in doing this, so that you feel that you're making progress. And I think that's, and speaking to other community researchers, I think they would like that as well.
Right.
Brilliant.
A sense of legitimacy.
Yeah.
And how does that label sit with you now? Now that would you call yourself a researcher now?
Yes, because it's my fifth.
Fantastic.
Fifth one, and
Wow.
it's And I really do enjoy doing it. I've had wonderful experiences of one-to-one work, interviewing people, but also the group sessions that we had last year. I really enjoyed kind of co-facilitating tables of people from different communities.
Brilliant.
That was fun.
And do you think that sort of skill and that knowledge and that input and those relationships are given enough credence at the moment, or do you still think maybe academic research is seen as being more important?
I think people know about academic research. I don't think people know much about community research. It's just not. People kind of look at you slightly head tilted. What do you mean?
Often we talk about trying to build trust and relationships with communities through community research, and I think it's tempting to feel like you wouldn't want any of the branding or association with some of the larger institutions that maybe people don't have as trusted relationships with in the community sometimes. But then in other ways, it's actually quite important to have those in certain scenarios as well, isn't it? To sort of say, actually, we've been told we can do this by these people, or we've been funded to do it by these people. So, there's a balance there, isn't there, I think, of kind of how you put yourself out there as a community researcher and what those relationships look like with those larger organisations and institutions. Do you have any thoughts on that around kind of that, the trust, I guess, and those partnerships and what you really need from larger institutions to make that sort of work?
I think it sometimes also depends on the project that's been put forward. So, for example, projects around violence in certain communities, there's levels of legitimacy that need to be displayed, and I think often it's you live in a community, you understand what it's like, and I'll allow you to ask me those questions. And if it was an academic that may not look like me, people may close down and not be interested in communicating anything. They would see it as a threat. Having said that, the flip side is people knowing that you're part of an institution or you're doing that research for them, that can also put up barriers as well. And they wonder, what are you going to do about it? Oh, this has been researched 100 times. What's going to come out of this for us? And often, I can't say for sure. Other than they've got an opportunity for their voice to be heard and for something to happen and to change as a result of the information or what they share about the concern. Yeah.
So our community research training is called Research by the Community for the Community, and co-production is another sort of word that gets bandied around a lot. I was just wondering what you think. What does really good community research look like for you? Like what is absolute, if we got to the gold standard of co-production, of involving the community, what would that look like?
Having your researchers be part of the community and having conversations, just having conversations with people about what's going on, what's bothering you, what is concerning you. I mean, I've had wonderful conversations with people in the community that have told me things that I had no idea was going on.
Wow.
And actually it needs to be brought to light. And there's so much knowledge and there's so much information that would make such a significant difference to the quality of people's everyday lives. And that's what's fascinating about talking to people, is you start with one question and they want to expand on it. And I know we have to kind of cut that down. But behind all of that, there is information that can be used in a positive way to improve people's lives. And, I mean, for example, what's currently happening with fly tipping, it's gone crazy in Birmingham. But in certain communities, people literally there's no point in dropping leaflets because people don't necessarily communicate in that way. Or they see what's outside your front door is nothing to do with me. What's inside my house is. There's just all kinds of cultural nuances that we have no idea about. And you only know that if you're in the community talking to people. That's the first thing. And I think from that, generating questions. generating the research from the ground up
Yeah.
is what I think could be a really good approach.
And so if there was somebody else watching or listening to this podcast now that we're on that is one of those people that just said, I don't trust research, that word's too academic, I've never done this sort of stuff before, I don't know, then they've heard this conversation and you sort of talk about your first experiences, your positive experiences. What would you be your, I guess, message to that person that's maybe considering getting involved in this sort of work?
Well, hopefully you've listened to what I've said and understood the value of your presence in your community and speaking to people from your community about what's going on and really just being involved and a part of something that has a possibility of improving the lives of people in the community. And I can understand why there is mistrust. But like I say, you have a choice, you can take part or not. But rather than just leaving research up to academics who may not get it right and may not really understand your community language, you need to be alongside them to understand the community language and inform that research so that they get it as right as possible. That's what I would say. You have a role. It's very easy to sit back and go, oh, I'm not getting involved. It's your community, your voice, and the voice of the people behind you in that community. Represent your community as best you can and be as passionate as you can about what's going on and what you need to do, because it can only lead eventually to improvement and better things for yourself. That's what I would say. Do it.
It's a great message.
I guess, what are your thoughts about research as a tool for change, and does it work? Do you see that happen? And what does that look like?
Well, I suppose it's kind of that invisible hand in life, isn't it? Because you think about every aspect of our life, behind it there has been some research that has led to some kind of change in the community.
Yeah.
On every aspect, everything from house building, road repairs. At some point somebody did some research to decide this is the best way to build a house or pave a street. We're all subject to research. So we need to not think that it has nothing to do with us. Has a great deal to do with us. I might have forgotten the other part of your question, Brian.
Well, no, that's answered it perfectly. It was, it was just about what that looks like when it can become a tool for change. But you're right, it's doing that anyway, isn't it? So it's like, you can kind of get involved and help shape it, or it's going to take place and you might not have that opportunity to sort of feed into it unless you
take the opportunity to feed into it. And I mean, there might be things people say that, I think this should happen, and then it doesn't happen, and there might be good reasons, but then that needs to be communicated as to why it didn't happen. I think the issue for me is how you communicate the outcome of the research project and where it goes, and that is the bit that needs to be tightened up or reviewed. Is should the community researcher go back and meet everyone again and say, let me just talk to you about the outcome of this and what we're going to do or what's not going to happen, or how do we progress from there? I think sometimes the follow-up process for the community could be a lot better.
Any particular things that you've heard from the community about how they would like to hear the messages and the outcomes? Because obviously you said there one option would be, as a community researcher, just go directly back and contact those people that you've spoken to. Are there any other practical ways that we could be better at getting those outputs and the reports and the actions back out to the community to make sure they understand that their voices have been heard and listened to and things are changing? But like you said, it may take years potentially, but we still need to make sure that they know that they have fed into that. What is any other sort of practical ways we could be better at that, do you think?
We said that the two main ones are important, which is either the community researcher goes back and has a conversation in the way in which you collated the information of speaking, go back in the same way. I think a summary report in a language that people can understand is also important, so you can follow up with the conversation and the summary report. There might be some feedback avenues that involve talking in community groups and resident groups, particularly if there's going to be more research or more follow-up that's going to have an impact on the community.
On the community.
So I would say those would be the standard one, because actually when we talk about community, there are little hubs in a community, and it's trying to get hold of each one. But however you did the research and conducted the research, go back in the same way to deliver the results. That's important.
Yeah, I think the days of putting a report on a website are done and dusted, really. You know, we just can't expect people to go and find those reports that are buried somewhere on a website, you know, and all that work and effort goes into something that isn't read by the people that are most important, you know, that have actually contributed to that. So, I think it's something we need to, as you say, really tighten up. And I'm sure trust is, you'll see that trust is maybe affected when people aren't seeing the results of their time and effort of talking to you as a researcher. If they're not seeing it, you know, as you mentioned, trust being such a huge issue in the community.
I agree. The website idea for so many things. There's so many people in the community that just will not do that, don't know how to do that, aren't IT savvy, just aren't going to read a long document. If you can't put it on a side of A4 as much as possible and summarise it and have someone else summarise it, just people will not take that information. And that's where you lose trust if you say go on a website or do too much of that information. People cut off and feel alienated.
Yeah, we've had lots of conversations about that recently. Thinking exactly about that. How do we make things as accessible as possible? And there are some people really leading the way with that in terms of like easy read and things that we hadn't even thought about in terms of how you can get that data, those results out to as many people as possible.
Well, I think that's it from my point of view.
I was going to say, I think we've done such a good job of covering lots of topics around kind of, becoming a researcher, who should be a researcher, what it means to actually get involved in research as a community member as well. Is there anything else, just that you would reflect on, I guess, as part of your journey, or what you might say to someone who was maybe thinking about it?
I never thought that I would be in this position. Not just the last 12 months, but from when I was first introduced to this in 2023, that I'd be able to think about me being part of any kind of research network or having the opportunities to talk to people as I have done. It absolutely has opened doors, and opened doors in the sense of opened my awareness to what's going on. Both academically, but also, maybe not so much academically, but what's going on in the community, and that's all the various communities. And it makes me understand actually why so much politically is happening as well. So it has opened my eyes, opened my level of awareness, given me wonderful opportunities to meet great people, and long may it continue.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Deborah. That was fascinating and really inspirational. So, thanks for your time and having a chat with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Deborah. Thanks for listening to CHERP Conversations. I hope you enjoyed that podcast.
We have made many other episodes of CHERP Conversations that are available on cherp.org.uk or by following the link in the description.